Welcome to News for Sure. Today we're going to take a look at the recent event where Katie Malife um, um, was granted bail. Um, what is important is that we need to say, as News for Sure, we need to say, sorry, South Africans. Um, sorry, Katie. Sorry, Judge Litwaba. Um, sorry, South African Judiciary. Sorry, General Mkhwanazi. I think we're getting to a point to know where the problem is. The problem is between the IO and the NPA. Now, the media house before, we've gone very hard on the judges. This is now seems to be a similar pattern comparing this incident to Omotoso incident, where prosecutors don't prepare, they don't do their work correctly, they don't prepare. As well as investigators, they go on speculative evidence. Oh, then we have commentators that will say, oh, that's a conspiracy. You don't need beyond reasonable doubt. You need a circumstantial evidence. Wow. Where's News for Sure? We're trying to break and analyze that point where there's a misconception about speculative evidence as well as what's the word? I must leave law to the lawyers, but you know what I'm talking about, guys. Let's unpack this. I believe that the judge was fair in giving out in giving Katie Molifa a bail. That's pure law. So, having had the hindsight of this, because this recording was broadcasted, so I've listened to the arguments in court. Wow, 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 wow. It's a wow, 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 guys. So, um, I was going to be disappointed if the judge came with a denial of bail because I believe that the lawyer of Katie really presented the facts. And that takes me back to a point where, when we've recorded things, we commented about how Judge Litwaba find himself in the center of everything. Yes, it's because he's a judge. He comes with a lot of things on him, basically. So maybe that's why that it becomes quite easy for him to say, okay, you denying this one bail, you giving this one bail. But then also his decision has found itself to be in the center of this court judgment again because they said circumstantial facts do exist, that Katie cannot be punished for some point where the state is not yet ready. The state doesn't even know its evidence, basically. So I'm just gonna go and try and 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 do a few analysis on these matters. Now, let's look at the case background in terms of who is KT Molefe. KT Molefe is Katiso KT Molefe, and we've learned now during the court proceedings that his name is taken from his grandparents, basically, so Katiso. So, but then now, then he was called a particular name, but the one that waits. So we had the description or in the court arguments and saying, but when the WhatsApp, this is what the person is called and the naming. His occupation is a businessman. His charge, five murder charges, including DJ somebody, and his two bodyguards, as well as DJ Davinto and Don Tindley. Now, which is quite interesting because that Tindley, it sounds Swati. Ne? And we know on the other side that Kate Matlala is also using Dlamini. He's got a Swati connection. Oh my goodness. And then we heard that now in the Matlanga Commission, General Kumalo has actually said KT is part of the cartel of the Big Five cartel, basically. So they only mention KT and Cat. What has happened so far? In December 2024, KT was initially arrested in connection with Aman Swat event. We've heard the story of Aman Swat. It centered strongly on the July 6 statement. Now, number two, in July 2024, while he was out on bail, so he was later granted a bail of 100,000 for the Aman Swat murder. So in July, he was then rearrested for the other murders of DJ Somebody as well as his bodyguard. Now, currently, we know that yesterday it was granted a bail of 400,000. Now, what did the prosecution bring into the High Court to oppose bail? They said is a flight risk. It says he had unlawfully obtained the identity document of Eswatini. This also can be seen from to another case of Usematlala, who's also facing another cases where some of these guns are also being used. So eventually later on, they're going to join the charges, basically. They say it's got deposits that they cannot be explained. And then he's got cross-border connections. So that's the main thing, that he's got unlimited access to cash and he can cross in and out of the country. They made example of his movement between Lesotho and Eswatini. They're saying that he's a danger to society because of these murder charges that he's faced. Now, they're saying that he's a leader. He's a mastermind, technically. They're also saying that he's conspire to commit these cases. They also say that he's a middleman who received payments and arranged this hitmen. Then they're saying that, you know what? If he's released, he's going to go all out and commit more crimes. Number three, in terms of the strength of the state's case, this one they talk about the evidence. They talk about the evidence on WhatsApp. They also talks about the evidence on his bank statement that there's large amount of cash that they've seen, which is quite interesting on the state's response on the arguments. They also talks about the KT's SARS declarations, that his declaration of income is not similar to what is happening in his bank account. And then there's also an allegation that the 3 firearms that were involved in these cases is also linked to them. No. Now, what did the defense said? Mike Helens, SC, is you know what? The guy is a genius. The guy is a genius. You see, once you have access to a lot of cash resources, when people are being paid to do things, they actually prepare. That's what now I'm actually trying to get you guys to actually do, where 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 I can actually prepare things for you, News for Sure, so that you can see these presentations going on. Now, he says now, but with regards to the flight risk, he says there's no evidence that has been brought before the court that shows that at some point when this guy was arrested, he tried to avoid the court. You understand? Whereas in this regard, I think they do say that, oh, before his first arrest, oh, you want to go to Hong Kong? We must arrest you because you give us your passport before that. So there's elements, there's certain things that were taking place behind the scene, of which now the defense lawyers actually expose. On the issues of witness interference, it says, no, this guy is currently on bail as it stands now. Did you have any witnesses that have disappeared or that have run or that nothing of that? Then he says now, you're planning to keep my client, KT, in bails for something that is speculative. He says, you know what? They've got the weak circumstantial evidence. My goodness. You know what? For people who are actually been following the Senzomiwa case, we're then starting to realize that, you know what? This is a strategy that has been adopted by prosecutorial-led investigation by these task teams, where it's this instance is a task team, whereas on the other side is the national cold case. This legal strategy where NPA, where all these disciplines, they join together to form a stronger case. But now, what Mike Collins has actually exposed in the form of law, and then it's something that for us as commentators on YouTube and TikTok, we've been trying to emphasize and saying, but wait a minute, guys, let us not just believe what the state is presenting to us. Let us just poke holes in this evidence. I mean, there's a lot of things. It's similar evidence that talks about WhatsApp messages, which we know in the Senzomiwa case. That's also it's the same procedure. Then now it says there's no evidence that that also they say that he's a syndicate. It's part of the cartel, Big Five. Now with this and the court, now we know the court stands with the little evidence that has been provided to it during the bail application. Then the state has failed to present an evidence, tangible evidence, to show the court that indeed KT is a syndicate of the Big Five cartel. In fact, Mike Collins even says the state, to show that the state did not have any evidence, they did not even put the IO on the stand to convince the court that, you know what, we know what we're talking about. I have investigated this matter. I have tangible proof. Having said this, fellow people, this now brings us to a very sensitive point where the Madlanga Commission is going to have a lot of issues. Because clearly, how is General Khumalo going to present the tangible evidence that KT Molefe is part of the Big Five, whereas the state could not present that tangible evidence to the court? And the courts now are feeling pressure from us. Hence, I'm saying maybe we're being too harsh on you, the court. The problems is between the IOs as well as the NPAs. Now, we must appreciate this strategic approach that the defense team have emphasized, that the state case was built on inference rather than direct evidence. What did we see about this? Even with the Senzomiwa case, it's infer. And we even have TikTok lawyers, as I said, infer. Now, but when you hear these SC, these seasoned legal minds, that opened, when they open their mouths, they get paid. Now, when you hear them unpacking these law jargons, these law terms, those law principles, then you realize that inference is not evidence. It's just an inference. Inference is not assumption that the person will be guilty of certain things. You know what? They even challenged the prosecution to present a concrete case, a proof, rather than asking the court to make logical leaps. We're seeing these things in the Senzo Mewa case. There is no evidence about the AVL, but because there's an OB book that is written there, hey, then the court must believe that. I just hope, Rata, you listening to your other brothers, your other judges, that they take a stand. Now I understand the view of with relating to KT Molefe, the view of Judge Litwam. So now it means that there may have been a lot of law experts that have assisted the police to come up with these principles in terms of how to charge people. But then when these principles are charging powerful people who have money and access to resources, they always have a legal loophole. Now, let's continue. I've said that lack of evidence of proving that this guy is part of the syndicate. SC says, you know what, the state has failed to provide proof with relating to that. What then we need to do? We need to go on and say, what is it that we're missing in this case? Let's see the quote that Michael says. It says, the state has not presented concrete evidence of flight risk or witness interference. They have asked the court to make leaps in logic rather than presenting the proof. I mean, it's as simple as that. So if now they can't present this, what are they going to present to the Madlanga Commission? I mean, we can look at this comparative where we look at the prosecution, the NPA, and we look at the defense argument. Because I had told you now that we must say sorry to KT Molefe, say sorry to the court, basically, and we say sorry to Judge Ledwaba, and say sorry to Judge that actually granted this bail, because now we know as News for Sure that the problem is between the IO as well as the NPA. They did not prepare. They presented the half-baked cake to the court with the view that they actually going to just make a logical judgment. And now we understand why the High Court judge, especially Judge Litwaba, who's the chairperson of the magistrate, who went hard on the magistrate on the first instance, where they're saying the magistrate has erred. We know that he also held a position of being a chairperson of the magistrate. So it's like, but you guys on the lower court, why do you allow the state to present to you half-baked evidence? Why are you allowing all of these things? Guys, you can look in terms of the quality of evidence, where the states have said strong circumstantial evidence, they relied on the WhatsApp messages and the payments, which were cash payments into the account. Now, the state says, no, this is speculative and weak evidence. And then when you listen to the heads of arguments, then you could see. Syndicates claim, they said that is the part of the Big Five cartel. The defense says there's no evidence with that. High risk of documents in Swatini, it says there's no risk where he avoided court. Substantial risk, and the defense says there's no such thing as that. Now, what is important here is that the defense has successfully categorized the state case as speculative rather than presenting the concrete evidence for a guilt. Now, when we then look at court's reasoning and then the analysis of the judge, we've seen that the court finds that the opposition, which is the state in this case, is not being granted bail because is granted bail is, let me just read in the court. The court finds that the opposition of the state to the appellant for not being granted bail is not based on the real evidence. That's what the court has found. That, you know what, it's, we're thinking probably subsequently. That's that. Not only are the content of affidavit highly speculative in nature, but there are distinct lack of real facts within. What about if we hear what Mkhwanazi said? Why NPA did not put the IO on the stage and say, we went to the forensic lab. We have tested, here's the report A, here's the report B. Therefore, these guns match. We're even going to bring the forensic guy from the lab to come and testify to this match. Now, do you see that the problem is not the court? The problem is the IOs as well as who? And the NPA. Now, these are key findings. Yes, because judge, when one learns, basically, this is his findings. It's a speculative nature of the case. Guys, that's why I have the presentation so that you guys can read for yourself. But this is what the court found. Speculative nature of the court case. This may have prejudice to trial preparations because of the things that are actually being said. If the guy is being held in custody and under inhumane conditions, guys, inhumane conditions. Now, I also see then Kate also being granted bail based on this thing. If then the court, if the state is failing to present such evidence, what are we seeing here, guys? We're seeing a pattern that NPA as well as the IO, they don't do their work and then subject the court to actually make a decision based on what the news or based on what we are saying outside. These are critical factors that we also need to consider to read what the court says. It says the affidavit lack evidence. Basically, those are the main things. Then they even say, this is what for us, public confidence. It says, the public often being misguided by perception of the purpose and effect of bail must never be given. Hey, guys, you know what? I'm going to allow you guys to finish this thing, your own readings. Because now, what we have done is we've actually looked at the court proceedings and we says, wait a minute, NPA here is the biggest problem. General Mkhwanazi, your colleagues, SAPS, are the biggest problem in this regard, not the court. Then, I mean, the bail conditions, some of the things that we've actually had there. What was also quite interesting is that also the confidence of the SC that is representing cases says, no. And my lord, even though we don't push you to do that, but we've already made few draft orders. Should you make bails, should you grant him bail? Orders like which police station must he report to, when must he report, and all those conditions. And also, my lord, that, you know, Our client travels between Gauteng and Bloemfontein and Velcom. So it must also be given to a point where he can just advise the IO, not that seek permission to the IO, but advise the IO that is going to be going to this place. But guys, you must just actually have a look at this thing that you know what, as a public, we are often misguided. What is the bail reasoning? The bail does not say the person is innocent. All that we're dealing with here is that the state has failed to present proper facts to convince the court not to release KT Molefe. So all people that are denied bail, it's because they have weak lawyers. What does this thing have implications of? I have said to you, as News for Sure, we of the view that um, from the court have actually cemented the constitutional right that people remain innocent until proven otherwise. So as much as we hate this thing, or we want to side with Mkhwanazi, but you know what? KT is a South African. He needs to be innocent until proven otherwise. We know that the NPA needs to actually do proper work. And then we also understand that when it comes through to Molefe, it's just out on bail. It doesn't mean that he's innocent. So I say to you, thank you so much for listening to this presentation. I am hoping that you're going to understand and accept that, you know what, it's News for Sure. We've listened to the heads of arguments and we've come up with this presentation for you guys so that we can share with you that the problem is not the court, General Mkhwanazi. The problem is the IO as well as NPA who has failed to present facts that you've told us that they exist. I thank you.